Tim seconded.
And I have a second from Tim. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Unanimous. All right. Senator, we already did roll call. Is there anybody else? We have our police chief here now. He has joined us, and Star has joined us.
Yeah.
And some of them have left us. Anyway,
Roy's
you
here.
got it all? All right, if you would, we will go into, let me turn my page here just so I know that I'm reading it properly. All right, I've done roll call. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and the Texas flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. Citizen comments. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, council is prohibited from acting or discussing, other than factual responses to specific questions, any items not on the agenda. All right. I have one person that has signed up officially, Paul Roberts.
Oh, my wife signed me up. It's not, I want to speak on an agenda item.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, that's all that I had. Is there anybody who would like to address the council with anything that's not on the agenda? All right, we will move on to items of community interest. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0415, the city council may report on any of the following items: expressions of thanks, gratitude, and condolences, information regarding holiday schedules, recognition of individuals, reminders regarding city council events, reminders regarding community events, health and safety announcements.
Mr. Mayor, I have two things. First, I would like to thank publicly the President's Council for having our candidates night last night. This is a great opportunity for citizens to get out, see who's running for office, and have an opportunity to select somebody from their answers and what their views are in our community. So Dave Freeman and Stan and the others in the President's Council, job well done. Number two, I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but over the last several months, we've had 2 deaths in our area. One due to a fire where a smoke alarm was not working, and another where an individual had a generator running close to their bedroom and was overcome by carbon monoxide. Our fire chief, Danny Norman, has applied for and has received a $40,000 grant. With that money, he is buying fire and carbon monoxide alarms, monitors from Ace Hardware at cost and batteries. And on November 16th, from 10 to 2, the fire department, along with the Lions Club helping them out a little bit, will be passing out smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors at no cost to our citizens. They will, if you are unable to install them yourself, will come out and install those for you. They will also be giving out batteries to make sure that you have good batteries in your fire and carbon monoxide detectors. Want people to mark that on your calendar. This is free to you. There is no reason not to come get one of these. So please put it on your list. If you need them, come and get them. They'll put them in for you. Or if you just need them in your house, they're available. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know community events, I believe the Lions Club has a blood drive Saturday.
Yes.
Yes,
I signed up.
yes. And
Anything else? All right. Public hearing and possible action. First consideration, item number 3, Lago Vista City Council is holding a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City Council of Lago Vista, Texas, amending a portion of the current Montechino Planned Development District, PDD, in order to modify the uses and development regulations specifically applicable to Lot 13 of the Marshalls Harbor subdivision located at 4709 Shoreline Ranch Road. And I will open the public hearing at 6:38 PM. And I believe this is Roy on the lead.
Yes, sir. This is an application that was recently at the Planning and Zoning Commission. It was approved unanimously, including the new member that was recently appointed. Basically, even though on your existing approved concept plan, it shows it as, I believe, 4 residential lots. It's actually just a single lot, the way it's platted right now, but basically taking what was approved as 4 residential lots and turning it into a community center with, as you can see in your ordinance, the building, the concept drawing for the building. And the idea is that even though these originated as one large plan development approval, over the years it was split into 2. But that doesn't mean that it will function necessarily as 2. And the idea is that this is a more convenient location for the community center, both for the developed plans for the development plans for Montechino, as well as the balance of the concept, if you will, that will be called water lights in the future, currently referred to as Marshall's Harbor.
got it.
So as you can see, the blue lot up there, that's the area of the amendment. There's an existing area that's labeled a little further down as the community center, a little harder to access, not as centrally located to the the balance of all the residential properties. But more importantly, that particular approval and the development standards for it doesn't really allow for a building. Some other type of uses, and I think the applicant can probably speak to what the question was, are you replacing that and turning that into residences? The answer is no, they're preserving both, but they won't be the exact type of community center. They'll be different for different purposes.
Thank you. Questions for Roy?
I don't know if it's a question for the applicant, but is this going to be like a POA or HOA community center? Or is it going to be one that could be used by anybody?
I think the intent was that it would be an HOA sort of situation, but I'll let him speak to that.
Okay.
That's based on something I heard. I'm not so sure I've ever had that in writing.
Any questions for?
For Roy, no?
What was your statement about water lights?
Well, the idea is that once upon a time, historically, this was all one comprehensive approval. Over the years, starting way back when, I believe the first one might have been 1998. Over the years, there have been a number of amendments, and at some point, it was amended and split up into 2 separate approvals. Okay, it's still that way, and it's easier to keep thinking of them that way rather than go through a bunch of gyrations to put them back together. But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to function as 2 separate, distinct, gated sort of communities. I don't think that's the intent. Is that?
Okay, got it.
All right. If we have no more questions for Roy, is the applicant here to speak on this?
Sure. Good evening, council members, Mr. City Manager, Mr. Mayor, and council's staff. And Roy, thanks for a good introduction on that. My name is Bill Nord. I'm an architect. I'm the sponsor this evening for this project. I think Roy gave a pretty good overview. In simple terms, this is going to be an HOA community center. It's for the benefit of the residents in the neighborhood in our subdivision. And if you would flip to the site plan, you can see how it's oriented. The corner, it's due north, right? North is up. So the western edge there is coming in. That's Shoreline Ranch Drive, and then the other boulevard there is Austin Boulevard. And what we've tried to do is make this more convenient and more accessible for the entire area, because we do have another PDD that will be presenting to Planning and Zoning coming up soon, and hopefully to council as well. And that's what we're going to be calling water lights. So for the combined PDDs, we want to have one community center. And so that's what this building represents here. It's approximately 8,000 square feet. It's got an outdoor swimming pool. It's got indoor facilities for exercise, yoga, fitness, all those good things. We're thinking about a commercial kitchen so we could have people come in, learn how to, cook and understand from farm to table what are good nutrition for you. So that's kind of the plan for this building. I think if you go to the elevation, the next slide, you can see it's a rather modest building. It's, one-story structure. But again, we're trying to make it compatible with the area. We think we're going to be using a good deal of limestone for planter walls because it's going to terrace down. Behind us is, on the site plan, there's a ravine, and we want to take advantage of that with the pool and the outdoor function areas looking out over the ravine. We envision nature trails and walks through the ravine, so we could see a trailhead coming up to this building, so people could then, come and go from here. So we think it's a great location, and we're hoping that you see it that way too.
What's the size of this?
Approximately 8,000 square feet.
I'm sorry?
8,000 square feet.
You said combined PDDs?
Well, they're separate PDDs, but the residents in each of the PDDs will have access to this facility.
And you're the architect of this?
Correct.
So this is going to be called the Montechino PDD.
That's what it's currently called right now.
So it's good, it's right, it's intended for HOA, but will it be made available if somebody wanted to lease it out or hold an event or something like that?
I would think that any of the homeowners, if they would sponsor a group that wanted to come in, I would think that could be a possibility, certainly. Yeah. I think, again, like Roy was saying, this is kind of just a relocation within the same area. We do intend to keep the other area as a recreational area as well. We heard pickleball is pretty popular right now and things like that. So whether it be tennis or recreation or some sort of shade gazebo, again, tied into the trail system is what we're thinking.
Does this have any impact on the other PDD other than that they might use the facility?
Not really, not that I can think of.
So the idea is that this will be common to the two PDDs, is that my understanding?
Correct.
Thank you.
The other PDD right now is a R1 residential neighborhood?
Yes, yes,
They have their own homeowners association?
correct.
All right, any more questions for staff or for the applicant?
Pretty clear cut.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to open it up to the audience now, so they may have some questions for you.
Okay, certainly, thank you.
Now, the one I have signed up, Mr. Roberts. This is the one, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
Pardon me.
It's that time of year, cedar fever.
Something I didn't hear pointed out by staff was the objection to one of the affected property owners within the 200-foot notification. Is the council aware of that objection
Yes.
by the property owner? Okay.
That is, what was the name of that person?
Dorothy Gudgel.
Do you want me to address that?
I never received that.
I think it was handed out at the P and Z meeting. That's what you and I talked about.
If it was handed out, Alice didn't. As far as I knew, those were the ones
I heard there was one.
received by email.
I emailed a copy yesterday as well
Yeah, I
to Mr. Mayor.
was gonna say, I know I got one from you.
Yeah, Dorothy's
somebody.
right across the street, right?
Yes, sir.
And in any case, that's nothing like 20%, so, yeah. So she's opposed.
Catalog all the ones.
Good, yes.
Yeah.
And I received it. I don't know.
And did the city, I'm sorry, Roy, did you say that you did verify that that doesn't exceed the 20% calculation?
Prior to her, it was 0%, yes. So I would think that one property owner would probably not make it.
Where there's 4 sides to the property, she owns, I mean, that's a pretty big portion. I should think that it appropriate for the city council to confirm that.
I think so.
If I may approach the council, I have this. If you can see this picture here. This is her lot. This is the 20%.
Her lot takes up most of the area.
Well, her lot is directly across the street.
Right.
This is that distance.
So it runs down one length.
They're not going to be
What?
as exact as if I did with GIS.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
While he's
Well, he's doing that.
Yeah.
I believe the members, the honorable members of the council have seen the petitions. I don't
Yes.
want to take up anyone's valuable time if there's no point in me, if you've read it.
Is that for this project or?
No, sir, the petition that I'm referring to is regarding to this project, Montechino. I'm happy to read it if that's okay.
And isn't it the same as the Gudgel?
It's the petition that Ms. Gudgel signed,
Right.
as well as other.
So other than hers, I think there was nobody that was.
Within the
There was only
200
like
foot.
2 people that were actually in the city limits,
Yes, sir,
and there was nobody that affected the.
that is
So
correct.
other than the Gudgel, those petitions really have no
They-
relevance on that.
Right, they are outside, they're just concerned citizens. Most of them are over in, actually, technically Travis County, Lakeshore Ranch.
Yeah.
And their primary concerns were just how it would affect the area overall and getting out in case of fire, things like that. But her, as well as mine, I'm in the Water Lights PD, or excuse me, God forbid, that is the Marshall's Harbor PDD. And anyhow.
Not this one.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. But I am in the city limits, and as a concerned citizen, I felt it appropriate, as well as about 20 other people, to petition the council to, I mean, without reading the whole thing, just the bottom line is, the purpose of the community center is to serve, as it's stated clearly in the application, to serve 2 separate PDDs. In that, the Water Lights PDD, which is the other PDD, proposed PDD that this seeks to serve, that application, my understanding, based on public information on the city website, is it's not pending on any agendas right now. It was previously pending a special call meeting for October 25th, and that has been canceled due to defects in the application. I would request that the council hear the application in the correct order. I think it premature to consider this without first hearing the Marshall's Harbor PDD, Water Lights PDD request, because that is where everything is happening. This is simply moving it from one location to another, or actually leaving the other location intact. But I think we should first hear and let the council make a determination on the water rights PDD before considering this. There is no prejudice to the applicant in that, no harm. It's just, let's do it in the right order.
Well, that's kind of why I was asking the impact from Roy a while ago. It's not in that PDD. Supposedly it has no impact on the other PDD. So,
Well, they both, they tie into one another. You can't, you can have one without the other, but if the purpose is to serve primarily, the Montechino, I addressed this in the petition. May I read it? Because I didn't really expect to speak from the hip, and so I'm a little disorganized. We oppose the zoning change application 19-508, 4709 Shoreline Ranch Drive on the following grounds. The notice materials, which were to identify and give notice of the property covered by the zoning change request, were ambiguous. The application includes maps of what was represented to be the area at issue, a copy of which is attached as Exhibit A, if you have that in front of you. This description and depiction is not accurate by virtue of prior PDD amendments. And I think Roy spoke to this kind of early when he spoke a moment ago. He was speaking about the two different 4 lots, turning it into one. But that wasn't clear in the notification that was sent out in the mailer. Safety and access concerns. The zoning change would allow a community center to supposedly service both the lots in the Villa Montechino PDD area and those in the remainder of Marshall's Harbor PDD, thus creating significant traffic in and out of the proposed community center. Shoreline Ranch Road in the area of Lot 13 is rough, narrow, and is patched annually by the city, making access to a community center at that location unsafe. More importantly, there are no sidewalks in Montechino PDD nor in Marshall's Harbor PDD to provide pedestrian or bicycles access from either neighborhood homes to the community center, which makes such access patently unsafe. If Villas Montechino is sincere in its plan to build a community center at the Villa Montechino and Marshall Harbor neighborhoods, the better location for the center is at the front of the Villas Montechino subdivision. There is currently an abandoned commercial building there owned by the developer and applicant. It is currently derelict and in violation of city codes. Moving the community center to such location instead of the supposed new Lot 13 would make it accessible to both Villa Montechino and the rest of Marshall's Harbor, and would solve the problem of the current eyesore created by the abandoned commercial structure. Please see Exhibit C. In regards to feasibility, the developer has repeatedly come forward with new plans for development of the Villa Montechino subdivision, yet has shown himself unable to accomplish any of the plans proposed or approved. As pointed out, Shoreline Ranch Road is in terrible condition, and there's an abandoned building never completed by this developer within Villa Montechino, along with 3 homes, 2 of which were previously in foreclosure. At the very least, the commission should defer consideration and making a recommendation on the latest zoning change proposal until the developer can present a plan for correcting current deficiencies that have plagued the subdivision and impacted property values for all residents of Marshall's Harbor and Villa Montechino.
all right, I'm going to stop you there.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Is there anyone else who would like to? All right, so the applicant would like to address?
Yeah, certainly, thank you. Some of this came up in the planning and zoning hearing as well, and I guess to address the property owner across the street from this lot, we're currently in escrow, and that person's received deposit earnest money on that property, so as soon as we hopefully get approval for this building, we're going to be closing and getting that land as well. So the applicant, we will have all the adjacent properties surrounding this area.
And when do you think that will take place?
We would hope that would close within the next 30 to 45 days. With regards to the existing structure that's on the corner there, we've all seen that. We all know the history of that. Again, as soon as we are able to close, that building will be coming down, and that will be the location for what we believe is best suited as a sales center, a welcome center for the area. And it's going to be a striking building. It's going to be something that I think everybody will welcome. And we're anxious to get that started so that we can get, rooftops in this area here. That's what I think we all want.
All right, can I ask him one more question, sir? Now, this is the community center area, correct? This whole thing,
This
building.
building, yeah.
So is this building dependent on the other project? Because if the other project fails, you're still gonna build this area?
Yeah, this area Montecino will still get built out.
Will still get built?
Yes,
This-
but the size of the structure is designed for both PDDs.
Yeah, well, something else might go into the other, if it didn't get, if the other area did not get approved, something else may go into that other area. Some other developer might do something.
Well, I don't think that opportunity will be there because we've consolidated an awful number
Okay.
of those lots, and the opportunity, I think, is very short. We have
Gotcha.
It did sound like you indicated that would be independent of the two PDDs anyway. Is that not right?
Can you rephrase that? And I'm not sure I'm following.
It sounds like you said that the construction of this community center would be independent of the other two PDDs that it will serve.
No.
No.
Ideally, what we're hoping for is approvals for what we're calling water lights. And then once we understand that we have a full approval for both PDDs, this then will serve both PDDs and will be constructed in that manner.
So there aren't two different PDDs that this community center will serve, just the one, just water lights?
Well,
No.
Roy tried to explain it, I'll try to explain it too. There are two distinct legal PDDs, right? Montecino and the Marshall's Harbor, right? What we're hoping to do with the way we've crafted and put together these properties and consolidated is we're hoping that eventually have this viewed by the public, right, as one community called
Gotcha.
Water Lights. Sharing the ravines and sharing the trails and all that, sharing this community center and the other recreational amenities. We see that as the vision for both PDDs being viewed as water lights as one entity.
Oh, I got you.
But legally, it's two PDDs.
I understand that.
Got it.
But, and the reason it's brought to us now is because it's a modification of the Marshall's Harbor PDD, not the,
Montecino.
I'm sorry,
The Montecino.
yes,
But-
that one. Montecino and not the
I
other
think
one.
to stress, though, that we are in escrow
What's in the
with
name?
properties, and it's important to us to know that we have the ability to go forward with this.
Gotcha.
It's critical to us to understand that.
You won't act on those until this is approved, or you're gonna buy them first?
We're going to move forward with the acquisition of those lots,
When does that occur? When does escrow expire?
again, within the next 30 to 45 days. That's our
So you
timeline.
have to have those purchased in line the next 30 days before you can go forward with the water lights, correct?
With this part.
No?
They don't have to, it's just something that they're working on.
Yeah, but they don't.
On what?
The one's contingent on the other, right?
I don't think so, no. That's not the way I understood it.
That's what I said.
Well,
Yeah, the
well,
building-
there was something in there that once this
building.
is approved, they're gonna act on other items. Is that correct? But not until this is approved. Is that correct?
I'm still not following, I'm sorry.
Wasn't there one connected to the other that?
Well, the size of this building is contingent upon having a reasonable number of rooftops to be able, homeowner association to service this. right?
He's saying this area right here is not, he's gonna build this regardless of whether the other one gets approved.
Yet it'll be a smaller facility.
Right.
And so what were the properties that you had in escrow?
What are they?
The escrow account is just that lady's property that,
Right, but it's,
It's immediately across the street from this, yes.
And the objection is just the building of that community center. Is that correct? The objection that the person has
Her
posed.
objection, I haven't seen it, honestly. I don't know what it's about.
Roy, what did you find out, sir?
Well, using an engineering scale and old-fashioned ways of calculating, which are not accurate, my estimation is that it's 13.9% of the notification area. I would be real shocked if my margin of error was as much as 50%. What it would take,
And you counted the street too, right?
and everything.
Okay.
And I might add, not all of her lot is in notification area. We only count the portion of the lot that is. not
Got
the
it.
entire lot.
Okay.
But since the size of the building pertains to whether there's one or two PDDs, would it not be reasonable to wait until we know if both PDDs are agreed upon before we approve this to?
Well, I think the location would change perhaps too. I mean, the whole planning effort on this is, we see the Welcome Center, we see the ravine, we see the center, we see this, all starting to work together as one community. And so I think that would call into question whether we would even locate it there.
So we could approve this now, but if the other PDD for some reason doesn't go through, then we'd be back here looking at putting the activity center somewhere else, possibly?
I can't, I don't know.
It's a lot of conjecture.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Do you want to say something?
Hi, I'm Brian Atlas. Wait, you want my address? 5001 Lago. I live right in the middle of the subdivision. This is all my property right now, Montecino. There are 3 houses in there that are lived in. A local builder built them and had difficulty, and the banks had to take them over, unfortunately, but they are lived in now. I live in the subdivision and have been there for 12 years now, and I've owned this property for 14 years. And I feel very blessed to have had the Nord family approach me to come in. It's like having Leonardo da Vinci come in to do a hotel and a planned development. These are extremely modest people. It's a very fortunate opportunity, I think, not only for me, but for our city. And some people just don't really understand what a gift looks like. And I think I live in the subdivision. I feel very fortunate to have something that's going to be built that's going to be very nice like this. Where we're putting this community center is the right place for it. It's at the entrance to the subdivision, but not right on the corner of Loam and Ford. And the reason it's there is whether we do Montecino by itself, if for some reason Marshall's Water Lights doesn't get approved, it's the right location for a community center. Montecino is already approved for 262 lots in a 230-room retirement village. It's beautiful as it is. This would just be an unbelievable addition to our city, to the subdivision, and anybody who's in there right now, I think, would benefit dramatically because it's not going to be a KB home, spec home where you throw them all up and they look alike. It's going to be it's going to be a mix of everything from high end to low end, but it's going to serve our community. And it's all fiber. It's going to be high tech, wellness. It's going to be beautiful. I think it's something we will all be very proud of if we can make this happen. And with that, I'll sit it.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. The Nords have all these lots across the street and all over under contract, including Dorothy Gudgels. When they close on that lot, it'll be a moot point. It'll be there, so.
Dorothy revoked her proxies for their rezoning. If that tells me anything.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Anybody else from the audience that would like to speak? Again, this is the first consideration. Roy, is there any reason why action had to be taken on this tonight? Okay. Good. All right. Well, if I have no more questions, then we'll leave the public hearing open.
Yeah, Mayor,
Sir?
the applicant did request the council consider at tonight, and that was their request that it would be considered by council at this. But as always, you can do as you please. Just want to make sure that was clear from the applicant.
So, if I may, what's the urgency within, for us taking action tonight?
The urgency?
Yeah.
Well, I think we very much want to understand where we're going with this project. And I think this is the first blush of what we're proposing. And I would hate to see us get delayed or bogged down in understanding whether the city is behind this type of development.
All right, thank you.
Well, you know, 2
I'm-
things. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say that we had a lot of discussion about 2 subdivisions and 2 PDDs and this and that. I just think fundamentally that the Planning and Zoning Commission's, I think it was 7-0 recommendation
Right.
that this is good land use in the right place. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't need any additional information, so, or time, and would move tonight to approve it, but there's gonna be houses out here.
I know.
Someday there's gonna build a house, and it'd be nice to have a community center right here.
Community, it's going to be a whole big subdivision that's going to be put in there. So, I mean, P and Z, I think this area seems very logical to me, and it was very logical to P and Z. I'm not so sure about that other area, but this area seems like a good use of the land, and it's a nice setup they have.
All right. Well, then I will go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:10 PM. Any further discussion? And the public hearing is closed, so we can also take action on it if we so choose.
Mr. Mayor, on this particular area, I'm going to support my planning and zoning. They're very excellent people in analyzing an area, and I'm gonna make a motion that we support this particular area.
All right, I have a motion.
Second, but it's to approve the ordinance that'll ultimately, it's in our packet, that'll ultimately get numbers attached to it.
Numbers attached to it, yes.
Mayor, it is an ordinance, and I believe in the packet, we have an ordinance number.
I didn't see ordinance numbers.
1511 19-1?
No.
That's the old.
Oh, that's the old.
I see ordinance 19-1X-XX-0X. So, you know, if that's the ordinance I'm supposed to use. Okay.
Mayor, as stated, if council wants to approve or take an action on this ordinance, then it would just be to accept the ordinance as presented. If approved by council, then it'll be provided the ordinance numbers by the city secretary. If it's not approved, then it doesn't need numbers.
I approve the ordinance to accept this ordinance as written.
All right, I have a motion. Are you still seconding that?
I'm second.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimous. All right, action item. Number 4. Discussion, consideration, and if y'all would, please.
Excuse me, be quiet. Thank you.
Tell Ann to be quiet.
And
Ladies and gentlemen, please exit the room if you're going to continue to have a discussion outside of the the commission meeting, council meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Action item number 4, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding resolution number 19-1815, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Lago Vista, Texas, appointing an individual to fill an unexpired vacant term as a member serving on the Golf Course Advisory Committee.
Mayor, I've presented this item to council as a request. Councilor Weatherly is the liaison to this committee and has a recommendation.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
the Golf Course Advisory Committee requests that Maja Linderman be appointed to fulfill Mr. Dwayne Cotton's term.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mayor, will point out that this term expires January of 2020. So this person will have, approximately 2 months, month and a half of servitude.
Yeah.
All right. It's harsh.
It's pretty much the word.
Thank you. Is he aware of that?
She is aware.
She's aware of
I'm
that,
sorry.
yes.
She is. Marsha's
But
aware.
she is also interested in continuing to serve on the committee after she fulfills Mr. Cotton's term.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimous. Number 5, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding resolution number 19-1816, a resolution recognizing the importance of municipal courts, the rule of law, and the fair and impartial administration of justice.
Mayor, this item presented to council is a recommendation to ask council to recognize the municipal court week. And so we have the ordinance here, or the resolution. Municipal court week basically says that as a city, we understand the importance of a municipal court. We understand that everyone should be allowed a fair judicial process. And from the staff side, we think that it's very important that every year council recognize not only just this week, but in this resolution that we have a fair and impartial judicial system here in the city of Lago Vista that can provide fair hearings to anyone that comes before the court.
Questions, comments? All right. Oh, I forgot. Citizen comments on this one? All right. I'll accept action.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve resolution number 19-1816.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimous. Discussion item. Discussion of a proposed development agreement pertaining to the area previously referred to as Marshall's Vista.
Mayor, this item has been added to the agenda by staff. It is a follow-up from the workshop that was presented today by the Shoreline Ranch team led by Joel Scott. We had the workshop earlier this afternoon where they presented their plans for development agreement and a TERS and a municipal utility district. And so there's a lot of items that the city's going to be working with this developer on as they try to develop a piece of property, roughly 500 and some odd acres. And so for the process for the council, we want to make sure that there's plenty of opportunity to discuss this, not only with the developer, but for the community to understand what all is going on. The complexity of a development of this nature is something that we hope our citizens will be engaged in, that they're listening, that they're paying attention. They'll come back and check the minutes of the meeting. Mr. Steve Robinson pointed out earlier during the workshop that there are a number of things that have to occur in order for this development to be able to move forward. Again, those action items being the acceptance of a TERS by the city and the development agreement accepted by the city and the MUD district. And so We are planning on the timeline where this item will appear on the council agenda on November 7th, and then it'll appear again on November
21st.
Yes, sir.
21st,
that date.
7 and 14.
That's 14 days, yes, sir. So that's our timeline, Mayor, and so we want to make sure we're putting that back out. And so we asked the developer and his team to be here for this part of the council meeting, so that if anyone, council had more questions today, or if anyone in the audience had questions, they could ask them now.
Does anybody up here have any questions?
Not yet.
I would like to ask the developer, because earlier session was not recorded. Is that correct?
No, sir, we recorded the session, I thought.
The 4 o'clock session?
I didn't see it, to be honest with you.
Yes, I believe Stan did have it recorded. We requested it was recorded, so as far as I
All right.
know, Mayor.
Never mind. It is available for people to see. I was going to ask you to come up and just give a brief description of what y'all were looking for, but since our earlier session was recorded and it's on YouTube, if anybody has questions, they can go and see what we discussed.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple items I'd like to just mention. At TML conference last week, I went to a discussion group about a park called Gary Park. It's at 2243. It's on the far southwest corner of Georgetown. And they were given a piece of property that happens to be 525 acres, about a $30 million valuation that was not in the city. They were given that park, and the man that gifted the park to the city, it still required so much money for the city to be able to develop that park and do anything with a $30 million gift. He had to kick in another $10 million cash to help them come up with the matching funds to get some grant money and get it going. So it opened my eyes to the difficulty of developing anything in today's modern world. And infrastructure to city standards costs a lot of money. So the idea of a TRZ is, it's an interesting new tool to help that get done without strapping the taxpayers. And I'm glad you guys are bringing it to us, and it's very interesting to learn about.
Thank you. And if
Go see Gary Park. It's awesome.
kind of along those lines, for those people on council, if you get the chance to ever go to one of the economic development classes that's put on either through CapCog or through TML, and they discuss TIFs and TERS and all sorts of everything, the MUDs and the MMDs and.
This park ended up being, it's a public park, and the citizens in the community can go in. They can pay $5 for a daily rate. They have an annual rate for citizens of Georgetown. But people outside of Georgetown, because right on Leander city limit, they could pay $10. That's for the first 2 people in the car. But to keep it in the spirit of public, they needed that money to be able to operate it, because it cost a couple $1 million a year just to operate that piece of property. There's a mansion on it, and there are equestrian trails, there are all kinds of stuff. But it's free on Tuesdays. So anyone could go any day of the week, but it's free on Tuesdays if you want to look at it and have an idea of what can come to fruition with the right development.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Anyone from the audience would like to? All right, we will move on to item number 7 then, city manager reports.
Mayor, with the start of the new fiscal year for the council, I do want to point out that as council budgeted for a number of items, staff is moving forward with taking action to make sure these things come to fruition. We have put out the request for proposals for the real estate broker. We have put out a request for proposals for the short-term rental management service. We have effectively today put the bid for the library expansion out. We are actively going through the Parks and Rec Director position applications right now. We are selecting the municipal judge process, going through that process right now. We hope to have all these things come back to council very soon. We are going through a selection process for the city mobile app. Again, very exciting. And today, our artwork entitled Glee has arrived. So if you walk in my office, you will see Glee standing in the office. It is not me standing beside the window looking like this. So I don't want anybody to look in there and think I'm just standing there all day. I'm trying to do some work, but it's exciting to have
I
it.
did hear it was bottled after you. though.
Yeah, you look at it and then say that again. Your eyeglasses are very bad, Mayor. So it's very exciting that there's so much happening right now. And we do have, I mentioned this before to council, Mr. Michael Panter is the shop teacher, welding teacher at the high school. His class is working on the development of the permanent stage that will go right outside here in our town square space between City Hall and the library. So they're working on that in terms of design now. He has 4 different classes that'll be doing different aspects. So once we start getting that design, we'll be able to bring that back and share that with people. But I think it's a cool project, just like bricks in the memorial is fun. This is something for our students to have that hands-on application here in town. So exciting.
Question. I've got a lunch hanging on this, so it's important. You said we were bidding the library. Aren't we going to expand City Hall?
That's an alternate? Yes, sir.
So both of them are,
It's together.
Yeah,
The library is the project. It's
Right.
the focus. Bid alternate number 1 is the expansion of offices that would extend from where we're sitting now straight across to that connector. Bid alternate number 2 is the library expansion to potentially have a second floor. So just save your money for that lunch. We're bidding all that.
I can't wait.
Josh, on the mobile app, is that the widget too?
Yes, sir.
Is
So
that part of the mobile
Mayor,
app?
so one company offers a service that's a widget mobile app and another company is a straight
So
app.
both of them will be,
Yeah, we're reviewing all those now.
got it.
So we did publicly post for bids for those jobs?
Yes, so all these are posts on the website, we post them online, we post them on TML. We did not post the Parks and Rec director on LinkedIn or anything, and we received 9 applications in a week and a half period that are very qualified, so we're just,
In the past, we've had trouble getting builder applications for those buildings. Are we getting
so we
more?
just posted that today.
Okay, so
So
you
on the
don't-
build, we just posted it today, this afternoon, and we're sending it out to every builder we've communicated with, and we're going to send it out some other avenues. That being a very important project, and we want to make sure we get the absolute best price so that Frank loses his bet and that we save money for our taxpayers. So we're going to push it out. If anyone knows anyone, as I send these bids out to council and to staff, if you know somebody, feel free to push the information out. This one's very fun. You go to the link on the website and then you click that link and it gives you the full bid spec, which most of ours do the same thing.
It's not worth the trouble to put it in the Statesman in Austin?
Statesman, probably not, but the Contractors Association out of Austin, we are sending it to. So we feel pretty confident. They have over 500 members, the Austin Contractors Association. And so we're getting it to them. But I say the same thing. If you just happen to come across someone that says, oh, I do buildings, I'd share it with them. Everyone locally will get it, even if they're a residential home builder. We're going to share it with them because maybe they've decided we know somebody. So I think the unique delivery of our bid packages is going to be required as we move forward to try and get better pricing. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Future meetings. Consider our schedule and items for future council meetings.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we need to determine when we're having a workshop. I don't know. Well, we were going to do a workshop to figure out strategies and.
Oh, yes, I was going to bring that.
Oh.
A retreat.
A retreat.
Mayor, we were really just waiting for the election to get 7 people to be able to have it. But the plan would be hopefully the end of November. I mean, we'd like to not miss any days, so.
Yes, I would like to see it in November as opposed to January.
I agree, sooner rather than later, especially if we're going to kick off our strategic planning process. Thanksgiving's the 28th. I mean, anything, preferably don't want to have Thanksgiving with some of you people.
Thanks.
Well advised.
You people.
I was only looking at
You know?
Others, maybe, but other than that, Mayor, like I said, the week before, potentially, the meetings that month are the 7th and the 21st, I believe. Oh, you already said
Right.
that, 7th and the 21st, so potentially around that area. We just need to be able to advertise. Maybe on November 6th,
Anybody else have anything they want on the? No?
we do have, Mayor, we do have, I think, maybe 7 items on the November 7th agenda already coming up. And so we're stacking it. The utility is coming back to council to look at that on November 7th, and we have 6 other items that'll be there. So we will be heavy loading up.
We got one you don't even know about.
Now we have 8 items. And
What's the first? The first of the month is discussion on the.
I don't know what they are, but I know that we've been sending a list to Sandra, and she has it going. So that's all I have.
All right.
Mayor.
I'm going to that economic thing in Bastrop, but I'll be here for the meeting. No. 7th and 8th.
Good. All right, if that is it, we go to executive session.
What?
Number 9.
We don't.
Does anybody have a reason to go to executive session? No, I will call this meeting adjourned at 7:28 PM. And I think I beat you.
You haven't beat me.
7:28, didn't beat him.
No.
That's less than an hour.
Josh,
He was like 20 minutes, Mayor.
Well, that one that we